Hey guys, I'm Krista, and this is my big sister Stacey.
And this is Sister Social Call. Hey, sissy.
Well, hello, sister. Happy Wednesday podcast recording day to you.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we want to welcome all of our listeners back to Sister Social Call and say a very special hello to all of our new listeners.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show.
Okay. Deep breath. Today, Chrissy and I are going to share with you an ongoing family crisis that we have been dealing with for over a year, and to discuss how we are choosing to navigate this sensitive issue that we're going through. And before we get into how we're navigating it, we will give you just a little bit of a background about what's going on. Last April, we found out our dad was a victim of cybercrime. He was involved in a crypto scam. To help himself get out of this situation, he engaged with a recovery company to help him recover his funds lost in the crypto scam. The recovery company is also a scam. It's a recovery scam. And actually, I would argue that this has been far more devastating to us than the crypto scam he was in, because it continues to this day.
We're not really going to share a lot of details about the money that's been invested in this scam or any communication with the scammers, the ongoing police investigation. We're not going to share that because I think we both truly believe that that's our dad's story to tell. And to be quite frank, we don't actually even know what is factual and what is not factual in all of this. We know a lot of what's going on, but because of the circumstance, we can't be totally sure. And it is truly our dad's story to tell. The hope is that one day when our dad is through this, he can share his story on the podcast. We've actually invited him over the last year to come on the podcast and share. I felt it was time for us to talk about it because it's been a whole entire year, and we have said with our podcast that we were going to be transparent and open about what's going on in our lives. And for a whole year, we have been quite quiet about it. We've mentioned that there's something going on, but we haven't really opened up about it because for, the privacy of our father. However, it is directly impacting us, and this podcast is about us. So
that's actually what we're going to focus on today, as we record the podcast, is just how it's affected the two of us as family members and how the two of us are kind of navigating this differently.
This all started last spring. The only way I found out about what was happening is that our dad, he contacted me. It was a Friday night. My dad never phones me on a Friday because he knew that I would be at the farm. So it was very strange. He was FaceTiming me on a Friday. But anyways, I knew something was up. And so he called and kind of was beating around the bush a little bit and then proceeded to ask me $, which I instantly knew something was wrong. This wasn't right. This is out of character for my dad, for one. For two, I just knew. I was like, whatever you're into, it's not good. And so I called him out on it. I said, like, what is this for? And so he proceeded to tell me that he had made us, an investment and realized that he had been scammed. And so in that he wanted to figure out how to help himself. So I don't know. This is where, so I'm not sure how the recovery company came into play, whether they ended up contacting him. That's kind of how we made it sound to begin with. It was like, oh, hey, we understand that you've been scammed and we're here to help. He'll have to clarify if he ever is on the podcast. But from what I know is that he asked me for money and I was not willing to give it to him. And I was like, tell me what is going on. So at that present time, so it was last March that he contacted me. He started to divulge what he wanted me to know, not everything that was going on. And I just simply straight up said, like, I'm not giving you this money. Whatever you're involved in, you need to stop right now. Like, this needs to end. This is a downward spiral. You need to stop and you need to figure out your next steps from here. We had lots of conversations. I met up with him. We did supper. I kind of set out like some, I tried to help him figure out what direction to go. And in that time, I said to him, if you continue on with this, I can't be a part of your life. And I said that to him. It's interesting for me because my dad and I have we have a really special relationship, and he's been there for me at really hard times in my life. It's been part of what's really how it's causing me a great deal of struggle through all of this, because in my heart I think, my dad was there for me through one of my hardest times in my life. And really, he just was a constant. We're dealing with something quite a bit different at this point in time now. So that's how we came to know what was going on. And so I reached out to my brother and my sister right away, because we are the three freaking amigos. And whenever there's something happening like this or anything major in the family, it's always the three of us need to go at this together. Like, it's just, we can't do it alone. Yeah, we all kind of got on the same page with each other. But we can lead a horse to water, I guess is what you could say. Like, we can put our 2 cents in and we can say our piece and we can try to help our dad make some decisions in his life or whatever. But ultimately, that's on him at the end of the day. It's his life, and he has to choose how he wants to go about dealing with it.
The three of us have different relationships with our dad. I think every sibling in all families will have different relationships with their parents. And so Dad and Chrissy have this unique bond where, yeah, they have supported each other in some pretty dark places. Dad never asked me for a cent, not once. And because we have a very different relationship and I have a hard boundary, I've never asked Dad for money. And so, Dad, I think, knows that very, like, it's just like, no, I don't lend money and I'm not going to borrow money. And so it's not very surprising that he never came to me and asked to borrow money from me. And sometimes it feels weird to go like, he's doing it with Chrissy, he's done it with Jay, but not me. And so that just shows that there's something very different. But I am actually very okay that I haven't been put in this position to have to say no to Dad. It's just a boundary that I have. He's had to take some pretty extreme measures to address this situation. We thought this nightmare was actually over last spring, and it was not. We will fast forward to this December, and the cycle of asking for money started all over again.
We kind of went through the summer and thought like everything was on we all thought that, hey, we're doing okay. No news is good news. Great. Our dad's working quite a bit. We're feeling good about life. All is well. And then November came around and my dad had to borrow a couple $100 from me to pay his bills. And so at that time, I didn't feel great about it. But, I thought, if I lend him this money and he pays me back, I want him to feel that he can ask me if shit gets hard, because I understand. I've been in this position myself in life. I've never been in a cryptocurrency scam. I'm going to tell you guys that. But I have been in hard, dark places in my life. And so, I believe in what goes around comes around and all that. And so, sure, I said to him again with some boundaries. I said, sure. When are you paying me back? What day? I knew the day he was going to pay me back. Everything. And I said, okay. Like, good. I'm glad to know that. I said, don't make this a habit, because I don't have the means to support my father on a regular basis like that. I have my own bills. I was planning a trip. Life is lifing for me as well. And anyway, so that happened. But I contacted Jay and Stacey right away when I said, like, Dad's, borrowed money from me and whatever, just so you guys know. We're all on the same page. In case he calls and asks any of you for money, you can say, hell, like, Chrissy just lent you some money. So fine. All fine and dandy. The day comes that he needs to pay me back. And that was also very strange how that went down, remember? 4 a.m. 4 in the morning. He's calling me to get my email address. And I didn't answer at first. I text him. I'm like, what is going on? And then I called him because I was like, frick, maybe something bad's happened. So then I called him. Well, I just was looking for your email address. Like, that whole thing was messed up. I just right away, my spidey senses were up. It's like, why are you dealing with this at this time in the morning? Like, this is too weird. It all starts to make sense to us now that we know what the hell's been going on. But anyway, so get through that. And
he did pay you back on time that time.
Yeah, at 4 in the morning. He transferred me right then and there my $200. Great. And so I was like, okay, that's good. That's what I want and perfect. So carry on. And I'm thinking, okay, great. All is well. Then December comes around and, well, I get a text message from my dad. Oh, can I borrow $200? Now he's not even phoning to ask for it. He doesn't even want to see my face because he knows, like, I'm going to be grilling him. Like, what is this all about? And, yeah, so I said to him, like, okay, but when are you going to pay me back? And he said, next week. I said, okay, when next week? On payday. Well, when's payday? So it was early December, actually, because it was going to be 2 weeks later. I said, so actually not next week. You're going to be paying me back in 2 weeks. Like, let's be honest here.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and I was annoyed, and then I was annoyed at myself for actually lending him the money. I really was. It did not feel good. I was like, this is not right. And then I said in the text message, again, I asked you to not make this a habit, so please don't. And he said, I will try. And that sent me to the moon. I was pissed. And that was when I just all of a sudden shit changed for me. I was like, something's not right. I think the day comes and goes when he was supposed to pay me back and he didn't. But then our brother gets a hold of us and tells us, just so you girls know, Dad came to me and asked me for money for the recovery company again. When he told us that, oh, it's so hard. It was just this. I instantly went into a freeze instantly. Like the fight, flight, freeze. I was there. Oh, it was horrific. The next, I don't know, couple weeks were rough.
At that point, the three of us realized how desperate things had gotten, and we actually needed to change our strategy. Up until that point, we had not told Dad's friends because we wanted to protect Dad's dignity and his integrity through all of this. But when he came back asking for money again to you guys, we knew that he was so desperate that he was going to start reaching out to his circle. We picked some strategic friends to tell, because the goal here was to do no more harm to anybody else. If he can't pay Chrissy $200 back, there was no way he would be able to pay anybody back. And so we had to change strategy, and we told a select few friends, and they are amazing. Dad's friend group is outstanding. He is so fortunate to have this special group of friends around him, and we're so grateful because they've been incredibly understanding and really kind to us as kids in a very hard time. But then we made it to then Christmas happened. And it was so awkward.
Oh, it was awful. And of course, I'm sure, as you guys can already tell, I just say it like it is. And I have a very hard time keeping my trap shut. If something isn't right. I want to talk about it. And I've said that before. If something doesn't feel right and it feels fake, not authentic, I can't get behind it. So it's like that Christmas was very, very hard for me because once I'd found out, pardon me, once I'd found out that this was back happening, I had to stay true to what I said before. If you continue on with this, I will not be a part of your life. The only time I was talking to him was every time I found out that he had asked somebody else for money or whatever. I would text him or I tried to call him, but he wasn't answering my calls. So other than that, I was not really having communication with. So it was very hard for me to go there because I felt like I was not holding a bit of my boundary by just, even being in the same place as him. So we made it through Christmas, barely.
Our regular podcast listeners, you'll remember that Chrissy and I had a really hard conversation about how hard Christmas is for me. So this was just like
pile it on even worse.
Exactly.
Holy shit, my sister is like, it's hard Christmas as is, and then giddy up, like throw this into the mix of all the more reasons why she doesn't like Christmas. Like, oh, this is no bueno.
It was a doozy. But once I got home back to Invermere, I contacted the Regina police. I tried to stop in there when I was back in Regina to make a police report because I wanted to add information to the police file because if there was any time that the police could do an investigation, it's during an active fraud case, right? And so I was like, I want to let them know that this has not stopped. And I'm very grateful. They reached out to Dad and the investigation's continuing. I won't add anything more to that because I really don't have any more information than they're doing what they can. Dad had a medical health emergency. And Chrissy was on the front lines of supporting Dad through that.
Like there was nobody else to do that. And Stacey offered to come home. I'm not going to say Stacey's like, do I need to come home? And I was just like, no, let me deal with this. Like this is something like I can handle this. And Dad and I are cut from quite a similar cloth. I have a different way of dealing with this type of stuff. I've dealt with this kind of shit. This is not the first time in my life. Not with with my dad, yes. But I've had to have like almost like intervention-y type things with people in my life and friends and yada yada. So anyway, so basically Dad ended up in the hospital for a week and I was, his go-to to go there. And so in the time that he was in the hospital, he shared a lot of what was going on with me and I was very thankful for it. And I was like, thank you for this. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for telling me this. Thank you for disclosing to me what has been going on. Because like we don't know really, truly, like all of it. And so it was a good opportunity for him to talk about that. And yeah, we had some really intense conversations in that week of him being in there. And I thought, this is probably going to be it. However, what I saw in my dad, as you all know, I've struggled with addictions in my life before. And what I saw in my dad at that point in time was that we aren't necessarily dealing just with a scam anymore, but we are dealing with an addiction, like a gambling addiction. And is hard to come to terms with and hard to watch somebody waste away their life. And so, yeah, I mean, that was a hard week, but I felt very, very hopeful because I know the power of being vulnerable and how much that can really help a person when you don't feel like you're all alone. So I was really, really hopeful that coming out of this week that he spent in the hospital, that things were going to be different. And I really really thought it could be. Like, I thought with what had happened, I thought, okay, this could be different, but I'm going to have to be a bit more involved in my dad's life and just make him a little bit accountable. I started to go take him walking. This is only a few weeks before I went to Thailand. So we started to go walking and I would check in with him. I would always ask him, like, I'm not somebody to sweep shit under the rug. So I'm like, what's going on? I'd ask him questions. So, he'd tell me kind of what's happening, where he was at. When you are dealing with a recovery company, how they operate is that they tell you they can help you get your funds back, but you need to pay them a certain amount of money. And then it's just never enough money. So you're constantly chasing something that's never coming by giving them more money. I was just constantly checking in with him in hopes that he was making better choices. But I already got to the point where I could only do that. The rest was up to him. Anyways, before I left to Thailand, Dad had been getting back to work and I just was one of those things where if you're an addict and you don't have money, you're not getting your fix. So once there was more money coming in, I just wanted to check in with my dad. So I took him for coffee before I went to Thailand. We went for a walk at the field house and then I took him for coffee and I just said, I really want to know now that you have some income coming in again, if you feel tempted to reach out to these people again. Because just because you were in the hospital and just because you've been open about things, it doesn't make that addiction go away. The temptation doesn't just go away. A lot has to change in a person's life for things to change in a person's life. For instance, when I was using drugs, I had to completely change my location. I had to move back from Canmore to home to change my whole life. Nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So I'd asked him, and at that point in time, he said, well, it would be nice to get that money back. And I just knew in my stomach, I just knew that something was up. But at that time, I looked him dead in the eye after I said, like, you got to let this go. This is not a real thing. But I looked at him and I said, like, I said this once already. If you continue on with this, and I said, if I find out that you have been in contact with these people again, I will not be a part of this. I will not be a part of your life until you make better choices. I can't be a part of this. I can't watch you do this to yourself. I cannot. This is my boundary. You have to set these sometimes. And for me, and Stacey said it best, she's like, you've gotten rid of every other toxic thing in your life. And I keep saying, I can't handle it, but I can. I don't want to anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. So I had to tell Dad that. And then, off to Thailand I went and I just hoped for better. I know I remember talking to Stacey before I left and just saying like, I'm hoping for the best, but something is up. Like, I don't feel good about this. And I went to Thailand and I said, don't tell me if anything goes on because I'm not coming home. But if something happens, you guys are on deck, you and Jay. So I went to Thailand.
While Chrissy was in Thailand, I had a conversation with Dad, and he confirmed that he was involved again with the recovery company. And I didn't tell Chrissy because there's no point. This is Dad's journey of addiction. It's like a gambling addiction. If you just hit it once more, you're going to win it this time. But there's no winning. This is a scam. They are stealing my dad's money. He's willingly letting them steal his money. And so Chrissy got home from Thailand. It was a Tuesday, I believe he got home. I was in Victoria. And when I did get back to Invermere, Chrissy and I were on a FaceTime and I told her and she came unglued. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Truly 100% glued is it doesn't happen very often anymore. I don't have like a really short fuse, but when you have been lied to by your dad, that hits different. Like
Mhm.
it was different. Like it was a feeling of just like betrayal, disappointment, loss of trust. Like an addict, he's smooth and he could tell you what you wanted to hear and not mean a frickin' thing, which was the hardest pill for me to swallow when I got back. So I promptly phoned my dad because I didn't have it in me to even wait a day or 2 or 5 or whenever I could see him in person. I just had to phone him and I had to tell him, like, that's it. I just straight up told him exactly what was on my mind, exactly how I felt, how hurt I was. I told him, like, you don't even know how this is affecting the people around you. You're so caught up in this bullshit. You can't even see anything else than what's going on in your moment. And that is addiction. It truly is. It truly is. But we have choice in our life to what we and who we have in our life. And I choose to not have liars in my life. I choose to not have chaos, drama. I'm trying so hard to not have that in my life because it's not something that I want in my life anymore. And so, yeah, it's hard to tell your dad that. But it felt like a bit of relief for me because I think the whole time I knew it was happening. I just always knew that there's like going to be more and just kind of living on the edge a little bit for the last year. Unfortunately for me, um, I've had to end the relationship with my dad. And I've told him, like, your words mean nothing and your actions speak louder than words. So, do different. If you want me in your life, then different things are going to happen. What that looks like, we've suggested to him things he could do, but he has not done any of those things. So, yeah, it's really been a thing. And it's got me like, whoo, feeling like, whoo, talking about it.
Mhm. Dad and I had a very difficult conversation in the fall when I was back in Regina, and that was my kind of come to Jesus moment for me, that I knew that my relationship with my dad had changed. Um, the person that was sitting in front of me at dinner was somebody that I didn't know. And so I just said, like, I'm going to have to grieve the dad that I knew and accept this new version. And that's kind of how I've coped with it. Our relationship's not ending, but it's definitely has changed for sure. And so, I hope for change for dad, because it's this scam that he's involved in is
Destroying him.
just absolutely mentally it's destroying him. Financially, it has destroyed him. And physically, because the shame, it's all just eating him up on the inside. And so,
Yeah.
and he's already losing his daughter. There's friends that I don't know, like, they're currently around in his life, but this journey is like any person that has an addiction. They start losing the people that are closest to them because they don't want that to be a part of their life. I don't have a lot of words other than we are dealing with somebody that we has an addiction, and or that's their behavior. It's untrustworthy, it's lying, it's deceitful, and those aren't like the dad that we knew.
That's
And
right.
so we're dealing with that behavior right now.
which is, I think that's like the hardest thing of it all. It's just like he looks the same, but he's not the same,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing. But yeah, so that has been huge in our life over the last year. Yeah. And hopefully all we can do is, pray for our dad and hope he, hopefully he makes better choices and can turn things around for himself. He has to do it for himself. There's nobody else, and hopefully he can find the strength in himself and do that. He is very loved. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
change the not having a relationship with him doesn't change that I love my dad, and I always will, but for what's going on right now, it's just that's not something that I want to add to or continue to have on my plate. So it's yeah, that's kind of the debrief of life for the Sisters of Sisters social call, and our brother included. Of course, we didn't have him on the show or anything like that. Um this also isn't easy for him.
I think,
Yeah.
and that is the only bright side of this story, is just how united the three of us are. We work
Yeah,
so
truly.
well as a team and how we support each other. And we've played different roles in this shit show, in this circus, depending on the situation. But the three of us are very aligned. And I think the three, like, that has strengthened our bond with us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super thankful for you and Jay and having the relationship that we have, because it definitely, like, it makes the hard times easier to deal with when, we have each other. I'm thankful for that for sure. But I think on that note, shall we meander into our peaks, pits, and plants?
Yeah, I'll start this week. Pits. I have one, but I'm not really feeling up for it right now to talk about it. I'm pretty exhausted from this conversation. So we're just going to move on to my peaks. We started spring cleaning at our house. So we deep cleaned the kitchen, which I know that shouldn't be a peak, but man, do you ever feel accomplished when you've purged, organized, got the dust off the gross things? It felt so good. And Sean and I put in combined about 18 hours into the kitchen.
Holy doodle, that's a lot of hours
I
cleaning.
know.
Woo,
I
that's
know, but
good.
it needed it. Like, we have two pantries, a big window, lots of cupboards. Like, everything needed to be opened up, gone through, thrown out, or purged if it needed to be. Donate, sell. Chrissy's gonna do a virtual garage sale with me soon because there's some good things in the kitchen that are going out of here.
He's like, "Oh, I got some things to get rid of. I'll let you guys see them before I put them up on Marketplace." And I was like, "I don't really need anything." And she's like, "Well, I have an espresso." I'm like, "Take it. I'll take it." First thing. I'm like, "Okay, sign me up."
What else was a peak this weekend? We went for a soak and just the good sunshine. It's just, yeah, the seasons are changing and that's really nice to see. Just trying to get my kilometers in for the motion is lotion. So I feel like I'm seeing the sunshine quite a bit. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Plans on Friday night. There is a short film being premiered in town at our bar, and it's called Jose. And it's actually one of Sean's very good friends here in town. And so I'm not really sure what the story is about Jose, like that they were documenting, but this movie's being released about him. And so all like Sean's buddies from the mountain bike shop are going to be there. Jose works out at the gym with us, and it was a big reason why Sean's at the gym now, because
Oh, good.
Jose would ask, "Where's Sean?" almost every morning at 6 a.m. when we were there working out, "Where's Sean?" And so, anyways, we are really excited to celebrate Jose on Friday night in the release of his movie about him, his short film. So that'll be great. Brother Neil is coming for Easter. He was supposed to come last weekend, but we had extreme avalanche hazards. So highways were closed for a lot of time last weekend. And the one way he could have gotten here was flooding through Fernie. So, it was just, he decided he was going to come at Easter, and
Wasn't meant to
hopefully
be this
it,
weekend.
it was not meant to be. That's right. So it's time to deep clean the bathrooms for a spring clean and get his bedroom dusted and ready to go for his visit. So that's really what I have. I have a few things I'd like to do for the podcast this weekend. I haven't done an artist date for myself yet this month, so I'm feeling pressure to do something crafty this weekend. Not
Oh,
sure what. I might just go to the dollar store and see if I can get like a canvas or something and just paint or whatever my heart desires.
I love that.
That's it. What about you, sis? You want to talk about your peaks, pits, and plans?
Okay, well, I don't have any pits this week, so that's good.
Very good.
Very good. Yep. But I've got peaks galore. I've had a crazy, awesome week. So went for supper with my mom on Saturday night, just kind of impromptu. It was fun. We went for Angkor and that was great. And then we went to Michael's bead shopping. Okay, because you guys, this is how I operate. I get an idea in my head and I have to do it. And it's always like crafty hobby, whatever. So I'm like, I was in Thailand and there was these cute beaded bracelet things and I was going to bring one back for Stacey. Never did. But I was like, it's been on my brain the whole time. It's like, well, maybe I should just maybe I should just like start beading some bracelets. I don't know, just for fun. And I'm like, no, I can't. I gotta I paint. I can't get into the beading. I'm like, no, I can't stop thinking about it. So I gotta go to Michael's and I get a few beads and then I make a bracelet. Then I'm like obsessing over it. Oh no, panic. I got a couple bracelets on that I beaded myself. Yeah.
Cute.
Anyways, so anyhow, so mom and I went to Michael's and got a few beads and we had supper. It was nice.
I was sorry for interrupting. I was going to say you are so much like Granny in that way.
100%. But if you talk to any hobby crafter artist, we are all the same. It's all the same. We don't have self-control when it comes to art supplies, craft supplies, hobby supplies, none. Zero, zero, zero. So that's a problem. But I think I've told myself I could only buy a little bit and just tinker around with it and have fun, nothing obsessive because I want to buy watercolor paints more so. So I just get to just play a little. Fine. Okay, anyway, so then I stopped on my way home at my friend Jordan's birthday. It's his 40th birthday at the Lumsden Bar. So got to see a bunch of people there and wish him a happy birthday. So that was good. And then on the way home from that, I got stopped to do a breathalyzer because it's that's a peak. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so honored you're asking me. Because he's like, have you had anything to drink? I was like, nope, 3 years sober. And he's like, well, you're still going to have to blow into this. I'm like, I have been waiting for this day. Give me that thing. Like, let's go. And of course, it came up as 0. And he's like, good work or he's like, keep up the sobriety. I'm like, keep up the good work. Just such a dork.
You know, it's like
So,
getting ID'd for liquor. Like, that's how it sounds. You know, when you're like, thank you, finally. Somebody still
yes.
thinks I look like I'm 20. Thanks.
Exactly. So that was funny. And then the next day, I went for brunch with Kelly and then Matt. He came. We surprised Kelly with Matt. We had this plan, but I didn't want to say it on our last podcast in case Kelly had listened. Well, no, it would come out after. But anyways, doesn't matter. I didn't want to say it. So my friend Matt, our friend, we all grew up together, went to school together. She hasn't seen him in years either. And so we surprised her. It was great. And then on Monday, we had our women's group. So my first day back to the women's group since Thailand. And we did this exercise on boundaries with a rope, which like no better time. Seriously, I needed this whole day. It was amazing. So it worked out really great. Of course, it was wonderful to see everybody and just to be in their presence again. That was, yeah, it was awesome. And then on Tuesday, I met with Zena, the financial planner that we've had on the podcast. Big steps in my life. Well, yes. I don't have a financial planner. I just do some investing through my bank. And so I'd really like to have somebody. So Zena has offered to take me on as a client. She doesn't actually take clients anymore, but because Stacey is her client, she has offered that to me. So we're going to have a meeting on the 9th of April and just kind of move forward from there. She's going to check out what she's going to check some stuff out for me and see if I can carry on my own or what I want to do. But I like the idea of having her available because this isn't my expertise. I'm a hairstylist. I said that to her. I'm like, I do hair, you do this. That this is my job. That's your job. That's why I'm here. I don't want to worry about the stuff that you do. And as you shouldn't have to worry about your hair. Like I've always said, like, there's always money to be made, but I'm very hypersensitive about money right now because of what the hell's going on with my dad. And so I am like very about it. And so this is a big deal for me to do this yesterday because it's like I'm feeling like, okay, it's not that I'm in panic mode, but it's just like, this is the next step. I knew I wanted to do this since the new year. And this is like, I need to keep these wheels in motion because, as I've said before, my dad and I are cut from a very similar cloth. And it's like a conscious thing I need to do in my life to not end up in the exact same, we're different, but it's just like we have very similar things in our life. The difference is that I am very self-reflective and I work a lot. I work very hard on myself, but I'm very conscious about how I live my life and what happens in my life and how I spend my time and what I fill my time with and the people I'm around and all that stuff. It's definitely not lost on me that I have a very addictive personality in most everything, including hobbies. Anyways, so it's something that it's something I work on in my life on a daily basis. So, anyways, and then plans. Um, oh, I forgot to talk about something else that I did on the weekend that I really truly loved. That was a peak. I went to the Shelby and Robbie sauna on Sunday, and that was incredible. So, Shelby, if you're listening, I'm hoping to get an invite for next time you're in the sauna. Okay.
Did I miss your highlight from Monday, Sissy?
Oh, well, I did go to the university on Monday, but that was just like a preliminary. I was saving that for after my next meeting with the university because I'll actually have picked some classes.
Yeah, but you got accepted to go back to university.
Well, yeah, I've been accepted into the Faculty of Arts Psychology program at the University of Regina. So back to school for this gal, which is exciting. I'm pretty pumped about it. Anyways, okay, so yes, there's many peaks this week. It's been a peaky week, very peaky. Peaky like a lemon meringue pie. So then my plans, okay, I don't have a lot of plans, which I'm thankful for because as you guys have just heard, I had all these peaks because I had all these plans. But the only thing is tomorrow morning I have that ultrasound on my like little lumpy bumpies. No sweat on that. And then I'm going to go for supper and singo with my friend T-Sac on Friday because I went to Thailand, he went to Mexico, and we got a debrief about our trips. And so we're going to do that on Friday so we can have a hoedown. We haven't had a visit in a while. So yeah, that's seriously what I'm working on Monday. So throw that into, I don't usually work Mondays, but I'm going to work on Monday. Anyway, that is going to be it for us. So as usual, if you enjoyed the podcast, you know anybody that might be dealing with the same thing that would enjoy this podcast or get something from it, please feel free or please share the love. The more people hear this story, the more people we can hope to prevent this from happening. We can let people know that they are not alone. So if you want to find us on social media, you can find Stacey on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find myself on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and you can find Sister Social Call on Instagram. That is going to wrap it up for us, you guys.
Awesome. Love you, Sissy.
Love you too, sis. We made it.